Algebra 1 End of Course Assessment Review. So in this video, we're going to be reviewing how to classify and compare functions. You're going to need two documents. You're going to need your notes packet for the Algebra 1 EOC review, and then you're also going to need that Algebra 1 EOC pretest. We're going to go back and forth between those two documents. So in your notes packet, let's look and just review each of these functions and what their values look like. So linear functions are formed by addition and subtraction. So if their x values are increasing or decreasing steadily, like in this table, 1, 2, 3, 4, then look at the y values, the outputs. Notice how they are increasing steadily as well. That is an earmark of a linear function. And a linear function looks like the example that you see up there, written as an equation, y equals 5x minus 3. Now an exponential equation or function that is growth, you're going to see multiplication between those outputs. So if you look at the second table, the inputs are increasing steadily, 1, 2, 3, 4, so we can compare the outputs. Notice that we are multiplying by 3 each time. So that is an earmark of an exponential growth function. Now exponential decay, there's also a multiplier, but it's a fractional amount, so you can think of it as division. So if you look at the third table, notice that from one y value to the next, if you divide by 2, which is the same thing as multiplying by a half, then you get the next y value. So that is an earmark of exponential decay. And then finally a quadratic function. So this is kind of the weird thing where first of all we find the differences between the first y values, and then we look at the differences between the differences. So first of all, notice that the difference between the y values is not the same, 7 and then 14 and then 21. But then when I look at the differences between those differences, I see that recurring amount, 7. So that is an earmark of a quadratic function if you're looking at the values in a table. Now go to number 23 in your pretest packet, and let's use this information to work this problem. So it says draw a line from each function type to the functions shown. So let's look at f of x. Notice that the x values are increasing steadily, so we can compare the y values. I notice that I go from 8 to 4 and then down to 2 and down to 1. So I am dividing by 2 each time. So that is the earmark of exponential decay when I'm dividing. Now g of x, again my x values are increasing steadily, so I'm going to look at my g of x values. And I'm going to look at the differences. So I have to subtract 2 and then 0, nothing to get from 1 to 1 and then 2. So I'm going to look at my second differences. Notice my second differences are the same. So this is an earmark of a quadratic function. Now h of x, first of all, let me back up just a little bit. So those fractions threw me off. So I changed those into decimal form. And when I did, then I was able to see the pattern. So it went 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5. Then I could see that each time I was adding a same amount, 1/2. That is an earmark of a linear function. And now I'm probably going to have exponential growth, but I'm just going to check it out. I notice that I'm increasing each time, but it's a multiplier. So I'm multiplying by 2. So that's my exponential growth. So when you have a problem like this, that's how you can do it. Just look at what's happening from one y value or output to the next. All right, go back to your notes packet, and let's talk about how to determine if a function is linear. So there has to be a constant rate of change, a slope. So if you look at this example, find the rate of change. So we can just subtract those from one y value to the next. So if you look here, I have done that. So I'm going to take 23 minus 8, and then I'm going to subtract my x value, so 4 minus 1. And so that'll give me 5 when I simplify. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. So now we'll take our next set of y values, so 33 minus 23, and our next set of x values, 6 minus 4, and I get another 5. So I can see that so far I am changing at a steady rate. So as my y values are changing, so are my x values steadily. So since my rate of change or slope is the same, this definitely is a linear function. Now, if we want to know where this function started, the y-intercept, which is the beginning amount, here is a very easy thing that you can do when you have a table. Simply just count down. So we notice that our slope is 5 each time as we increase by 1. So if we were to decrease here down to 0, all we have to do is decrease the 8 by 5. So 3. So we know that our beginning amount is 0, 3. That's just an easy way that you can determine a y-intercept or a starting amount using a table. Now go back to your pretest packet and look at number 3. So Kelly recorded the amount of money that she earned, y for hours worked, x in the table, and we're going to select the words that correctly complete the sentences. Well, one thing I notice is I'm going to look at the table. I see that her hours kind of jump. So they go from 1 to 3 and then from 3 to 4. So when she worked 2 hours, then her money earned went from 15 to 45. So it jumped $30. When she worked 1 more hour, it jumped 15. So first of all, I can definitely say that this situation, this function is increasing. The more she works, the more money she gets. And then it's increasing steadily by $15 an hour. So when you have a steady increase or decrease, that is a linear function. And then I can work my way down to find out what the y-intercept is when x is 0. I can also just think, common sense. If Kelly works no hours, she's going to earn no money. So my y-intercept is 0, 0. Now go to number 26 in that same pretest packet. So we want to look at which ones of these tables represent linear functions. When you're taking this test, you have unlimited time. So you can take each of these possible answers and just do what we're going to do here. Look for a linear function. You do not have to rush through the problems. So let's look at table A. Notice that each of them are increasing by 3. So -2 to -5, I have to add 3 each time. I have to add 3, add 3. So that is an earmark of a linear function. Now, table B, I increase by 2, and then I increase by 4, and so I'm going to stop because right away I am not increasing by a steady amount, and I'm only looking for linear functions, so increasing or decreasing by a steady amount, so I'm going to stop. That's not linear. Now let's look at C. So first of all, from 17 to 21, we increase by 4, and then by 4, and by 4, and by 4. So go all the way through the table. That definitely is a linear function. Let's keep on going. So to get from 81 to 27, I just put that on my calculator, 81 minus 27. So I have to decrease by 54. And then from 27 to 9, I have to subtract 18. So I'm going to stop because I'm not decreasing by a steady amount. Now look at E. So to get from 1.5 to 3, I have to add 1.5. And then I add another 1.5. So this one looks promising. So I'm going to test that each time. You can do it on your calculator. So that one is linear. And then finally F. So to get from 6 to 9, I add 3. 9 to 14, I have to add 5. So nope, that one is not. So once again, if you have a multiple answer problem like this, just go through each of your answer choices slowly and carefully so that you can, get the answer, all parts of it correct. All right, back to your notes packet. So with functions, sometimes they ask you to find what are called the zeros. So these are the x-intercepts of the graph. Also minimum and maximum. That's the lowest and the highest point. So if you're given a table like this, A of x, one strategy that you can do is just to plot those points on that and just look at them. So when I plot the points, then I can pick out a minimum or a maximum. So I notice that my lowest point here is when y is negative 8. So my first question is y equals 0 a minimum? That's going to be a no. Is y equals negative 6 a minimum? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope, it's 8. And then is x a 0? So is it crossing the x-axis where x is 0? That is a no. Or where x is negative 2? That's going to be a yes. So again, minimum or maximum means the lowest point that you see or the highest point. And then a 0 means is it crossing the x-axis? So where x is negative 2, yep, that's where y is 0. So that is what we call a 0. Now so we're going to hold off on this one. So let's look, we're going to come back and work both parts. So continue with the notes. Sometimes you won't be given a table of values though, you're just going to be given an equation. Since there's no points, we can use a couple different strategies. So you can factor the expression to find out the zeros. You can look at the leading coefficient to see if the parabola opens up or down. If it opens up, you're going to have a minimum. If it opens down, you'll have a maximum. And the minimum or maximum is going to be between the zeros. You could also substitute values to create the graph. So with this one, when I factor, I look for two numbers that multiply to give me 6 and add to give me 7, which are 6 and 1. So this will factor as x plus 6 times x plus 1. I can set those each equal to 0. And so I know I have two zeros where x is negative 6 and x is negative 1. So right away, I know that this is going to be a no, and this is going to be a no, because my zeros are these values. Now, is it a minimum? Well, I know that my graph is going to open up because my beginning value, my A amount, is positive 1. So I will have a minimum, and it has to be in between negative 6 and negative 1. And it needs to be lower than the x-axis where y is negative. So that means that those would not be a minimum. Now go ahead and go to number 25 in your pretest packet. All right, so let's look at f of x. Here we've got an equation. So let's do what we just talked about. Let's factor it. So two numbers that will multiply to give us negative 3 and combine to give us negative 2 are negative 3 and 1. So it will factor as x minus 3 times x plus 1. So those are our two zeros. I know that it's going to open up, so it will have a minimum. Now, if you look here, I graphed those two zeros, those points where x is 3 and x is negative 1. So the lowest point is going to be right in the middle, and that's where x equals positive 1. So I plugged in positive 1 for x and got the point negative 4. So now I can fill out my table for f of x. I know that I'm going to have a minimum where y is negative 4. I know that I have zeros at positive 3 and negative 1. All right, now let's talk about g of x. So I'm going to graph g of x. And let me just get rid of this. There, so there are my g of x points. So now I can look and see if I have a minimum at negative 1, which I do here, where y is negative 1. And then my zeros are at 1 and 3. So I'm going to check those boxes. And then I know that this right here, a 0 at 2, is my one choice that neither function fits. All right, this is the end of the review of classifying and comparing functions. If you'd like more practice problem, talk to your teacher or Google any of these topics.